Thanks so much for joining us for another episode of Enlightened Conversations, where we invite our hosts and guests to share their views on the world, work, and their personal lives in an enlightened way. This season, we're also looking forward to engaging more with our audience, hearing your enlightened views, and answering questions and topics you would like us to weigh in on. Today's episode is hosted by Michelle Lightworker. Hey everyone, it's Michelle Lightworker here, and welcome to another episode of Enlightened Conversations. I'm super excited to be speaking with the wonderful Trish Rock today. Welcome, Trish.
Hi, I'm super excited to be here as well, Michelle. What an honour to be on your show. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Because for those of you who don't know, Trish, she's going to be we're so lucky we've got a little bit of a sneaky peek because we're going to be talking about a wonderful new book that's out very, 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 very soon. And we've got a little sneaky peek about the whole process that Trish just is gifting us called the peace process. So I'm excited because it resonates with me so deeply, Trish, as I mentioned to you, with regards to my own principles and peace being one of my principles. And so I'm so excited to do a deep dive today into this.
Thank you. I am too. And I'm so glad it resonated with you. It'll resonate even more after we speak today.
I'm sure it will. I'm excited. It's so ironic, right? How could you be so peaceful, like so excited about peace? And I'm like, how could you not? But anyway, we'll get there. We'll get into that. So for those of you who don't know the wonderful Trish Rock, she is a peace coach. She is a best-selling author, a holistic counsellor and psychic who helps people to improve their lives through breaking down the barriers to true freedom and holistic wellness. Her clients call her the Queen of Calm because of the peace and clarity she brings into their life. And Trish always says that the possibilities are endless as she guides her clients through her proprietary peace process. And among other things, this teaches them how to harmonise the energies across their mind, spirit, and body. As I said, we're going to discuss this wonderful peace process today. And for those of you who don't know the name of the book, it's called The Peace Process, Tools to Align and Prosper. So welcome, Trish.
Yay! Let's dive in. I'm so excited.
I am too. I am so, and can I just say that I am, referring back to my previous comment and how can we not feel excited about peace? And I know for me, it's peace is I call it a conscious choice. We can actually choose to be, I call it intentional serenity. We can actually almost channel that intention into the moment. But I know that that's something that is a spiritual practice that we need to be mindful of every day and every moment. And it's kind of like bring us back to the peace. But this process that you are describing is phenomenally interesting because it encompasses so many of the things that I've worked with, but also I also feel like because you're involving some other elements that we will get to that I have been experiencing lately. I'm excited to share on those things as well. So that's exciting.
It really is. And, a few years back, if you had have mentioned, hey, peace will really set you free, everyone would have just yeah, whatever. I just want a better relationship or more money or this or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't worry about peace or self-love or anything like that. But I really feel after the last couple of years, people have been forced to really have a look at themselves and they've gone from, wow, that environment or that relationship or that state of mind I was in really was chaotic. And now I've been forced to kind of look at, do I really want to be in that chaos? And just finding that peace. And, the concept that to be peaceful, you have to be meditating on top of a mountain for 10 years. people aren't in there anymore. They're like, no, I can find peace in the moment, just like you said.
Yeah.
And, what are the benefits of finding that inner peace? You can make better decisions.
Yeah.
Your body thanks you for it.
For sure. Oh my
Because
God.
you're not in fight or flight.
Yeah. Like your whole, like the cortisone levels decrease, and that's so much better for us. And we're not stressed out. Our nerve endings are, more embalmed with almost like a protective energy. And it's so tangible, isn't it, Trish? Like when you have practiced peace, there is a real difference in not being in that peace. And you get to kind of, and honestly, it is easier to return to a state of peace once you've actually acknowledged and established, or A, how powerful it is, and B, how simple it can be to return to that place if you allow it. But there are techniques that help people to get there, and to maintain it, that you discuss in your book, that are extremely in alignment with how I feel. It's authentic. It's not like a fakery, like a fake peace. I'm fine. No, it's not actually like that at all. It's really about ownership, and a lot of it about being very, very, very honest with ourselves. So I'm really, really super happy to speak on the 5 little steps, if you're happy for us to dive in.
Look, and it is that 100% responsibility, because I went for years and years and years blaming everything outside of me. Like, my life's shit, that's your fault.
Yeah, didn't we all?
And that keeps you in the chaos. And we've also, over so many generations, been told that, that is how we operate as a human, to be in stress. You've got to be stressed. You've got to be worried. There must be something wrong with you if you're not worried about it, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so you reach that level of stress and chaos, and it's like, oh, I've made it. I'm the ideal human. But it's just killing you inside. And so I think the last couple of years people have really like, you know what, I don't want to live like that anymore. I want to live in a way that feels good. But that's not to say that you and I don't get into those days of chaos and all the rest of it. But it's easier to, with all the tools and practices, to come back and say, like, oh, that feels really off. I'm feeling a bit off. I need to come back to that calm, and then I'll move from there.
I agree 100%. I because I think a lot of the piece that when you're practicing it, what you realize is that you need to be at peace with all the different aspects of your process. And so if you're in a state of unpeace or judgment about one aspect of ourselves, like even the angry part or the trauma response that you've had, or it's just it gums up the works and it keeps you there. And it's like, no, it's really good to be peaceful about being human, because if we're not peaceful about being human, we unfortunately we can't step into peace. That's the reality. Not authentic peace. We can pretend.
That's true.
Suck it up, princess, and all that stuff, and soldier on, and
the body knows it's not real.
The body knows, yeah, exactly.
The body knows it's not real, and not being at peace with all of those aspects of yourself, it really allows that experience or that person or that thing that you feel guilty or shameful about, it still allows that to have that power over you in the moment. And it could have happened 20 years ago. Like,
exactly.
But finding peace with all those parts of yourself. And, one of the things that I did find, which is what led me to write this book and have this process channeled in, is that firstly, I was trying to solve everything at once. I put it all into a big bucket. It's like, this is my life and I don't like it and I need to fix it all at once. And of course you can't. That's a big road to failure, because it's just so big. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So the first thing I learned was, okay, I can't fix everything at once, but everything in front of me and around me and in my life, I've created. So what's the one thing that's really out of alignment so badly right now that would be the first thing on the list to shift. And it's really important to separate everything and just do one thing at a time. And you know, that's part of the process. But the other thing that was not working for me with all the other things I tried was that I was here and what I wanted was there. And I always felt in lack. Always. It's like, okay, I'm here. What I want is over there. And it's constantly, I'm reaching, and it just kept me in a scarcity. So I thought there's got to be a different way. And then this process came through to me, and
wow.
You know, it actually allowed me just to not be here and want that, actually to be that already. And so it's kind of like I'm doing things backwards. Sometimes we work on all the forgiveness and the connection and all of that first to get where we're going.
Yeah.
But that was always a reach for me. And I'm like, no, there's got to be something different. So I've done it backwards. Like, no, I'm just going to feel into who that person is that is that change that I want to see. And then I'll work on all the stuff that comes up. And that's why it's a little bit backwards. But the exciting thing is that, you know, I do take people into parallel realities, which is so much fun. And I think we all do it. We just don't understand what we're doing. Because whatever you can imagine and whatever scenarios you can have in your head, my perception is that you already know it. If you didn't know it, then you wouldn't be able to imagine it. And if you already know it, then is it from a past life? Is it from a future life? And if time is just a construct and everything's happening now, then you can tune into any part of you that is living any life anywhere else. So
it's interesting. It's interesting that you mentioned that, because I can't remember how many episodes back, but it was maybe about 3 or 4, I can't remember, but I just remember having like a dream where I really felt like it was a parallel reality. And I woke up not feeling that in my dream, but I woke up feeling that. And when I was talking about it even more. And so now, since then, I've realized that a lot of my dreaming might actually be that. And then I saw the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once recently, which was all about parallel. Have you seen that one?
I haven't, but I will.
Oh my God, you'll love it. It's very along the lines of what we're talking about in terms of making choices or actually not just making choices, but also in plugging into strengths we have in that reality. So it was kind of interesting how I had like a lot of things coming in, which were affirming, well, what I just experienced. And I feel, and it's almost like, you know, that 100th monkey thing where we all start to become aware of this being a reality, like these parallel universes being a reality, that are not just something that exists, but something that are really powerful that we can tap into. And
because it is us.
Because it is us. And that there is a real opportunity to not only explore like and feel what you were talking about before, which is why do I have to feel like I'm coming from a place of lack all the time? Well, this could have already happened. And then more get into, well, how does that feel? Like, how does it actually feel? Because Trish, I don't know about you, but if you've ever kind of wanted to manifest something, but you have, but it's not quite here yet, but you feel like it is, like the house I'm living in right now. Same thing happened for this one and the previous house, where I already felt like it was existing.
Yeah.
And then that's a very powerful, it's already happened feeling, like in this world, like in this time. But if what you're talking about is that we have the ability to tap in to another reality and really feel that this has already happened and feel that ownership, then that's extremely powerful in terms of like walking into a store, putting on a pair of shoes, feeling how they feel, and then feeling, well, what works, what doesn't for me here.
Absolutely, and that's the power of it, and that's why I made step one that first, because, you know, working on all of the other stuff and the apparent fears that you might have about taking that step forward. We don't always know until we're there.
We don't. Exactly. It's like, you know, trying on a pair of shoes you haven't tried on before. And then it's like, but at least you're giving yourself an opportunity to try them on. And then if you need to get you know, you get to know how you feel about them. And
you do.
Is it really what I want?
Yeah. And then when you know, you can do the work, because, you know, one of the things that stops a lot of my clients from taking that next step to what they want is because it doesn't feel safe. It's the unknown. It doesn't feel safe. Oh, let's work on the fears. Well, you know, it's because it's unsafe. So, you know, if you can actually go into that pair of shoes that is being that person that you want, then the fear goes away and you're like, oh yeah, I've already been there. But it's good to really break it down. So so not trying to change everything at once. So the first aspect of myself that I worked on was the aspect of lack.
Yep. Great place
I was
to
going
start.
to work. Yeah. So I was going to work on, well, you know, I want to create a more wealthy life. But that was too far of a stretch for me because I didn't know how to be abundant. And if I didn't know how to be abundant, then the money would just keep coming in, and I didn't know how to be abundant, and it would just keep going out. So trying to become a wealthy version of me would have been useless at that point. So you've got to kind of work it back to what's the next best step. And the best one for me was to change from that lack persona to an abundant persona, right?
Awesome.
So going into that imagination, into that reality where I had that part of my personality, that persona element of abundance, seeing what it felt like, what did I think, what was I saying, what decisions was I making, all of that. And as you say, putting on those shoes, so that when you're then back in this reality and you're like, right, now I know how it feels and it's great, I know what to do. And you just start acting that out in this reality, and things around you start changing.
They do. Indeed they do. Indeed they do.
And then
it's like, you know,
what the next step is after that. Once you've worked on one, you know, naturally it's like, oh, I've done that. Then I could work on the wealth issues. Then I could work on other things in relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so powerful when we internally have those adjustments that they like our field around us. I'm sure, like, there's so many intuitive people out there in our current reality. They can feel it too. It's like sometimes we underestimate the impact we have, like from just literally like walking into a shop, making a deal for something, whatever. If we're owning stuff, like, people just don't want to, not saying we're intimidating, they just don't want to even think to mess with it, because there's something that you're bringing that's authentic from the inside that
you're just
people can feel.
This beautiful, peaceful light. Sometimes when I'm walking through shopping centres, I'll just imagine myself with my energy really extended. I'm just going to walk through here and see how many people I can touch with my energy. And you don't know what difference that makes for people, but
it's incredibly impactful. And you know, like, the other thing about that, before we move on to step 2, because I really feel like this is really important to mention, is that when we're giving ourselves that level of permission and we are making those shifts internally, it's a yes, and our energy is saying yes, and touching people in that yes energy. That's extremely powerful, because we're not by owning it and by allowing that yes for ourselves, it's automatically transmitting a yes frequency for other people, really. And they're, of course, it's their free will to take that on board or not, but we're not the barrier to their yes, and that's extremely powerful. That's juicy, yummy goodness.
It really is. It's like an unseen permission for them to feel good too, and it's just so interesting. So it's definitely finding that inner peace and creating the life that you love is certainly good from a personal perspective, because you know it's really all about our expansion. Everyone's just players in the movie. But when it can affect other people too, because we're all here to affect other people, we're all a whole, we're all one.
Yes.
And everything makes a difference. And that's another thing that you know, I think people are starting to realize about themselves, that they don't have to be you know, famous movie star to make a difference in the world. Just
absolutely.
Smiling at someone down the street is a difference, and you can make a difference just by shining light in your home. You know, just by you being the light, it makes a difference, no matter how that plays out in your life.
Yeah, I agree, 1,000,000%. So step 2 is embracing forgiveness and acceptance.
It is.
Which I love, because forgiveness is another one of my principles, by the way, just saying.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say the 5 steps, just so people know where we're going. So the first step is to really tune in to those parallel realities and perceive that peace. So usually it'll be that one area of life that feels chaotic, not the whole life, one area. Find that reality where you're already living that in peace. Bring those attributes back. The second one is really finding that acceptance and forgiveness for where you are now, because we can beat ourselves up for, why did it take me 20 years? Just acceptance for everything that's come to the now, because that's peaceful. And then the next one is really being aware of that self-sabotage, because it will come in. We've got egos that we've trained to protect us, right? And it will come in to play. I know for me, one of my biggest ones, which I'm aware of now, so I don't let it run rampant, is when I've got something important to do, I tend to start spring cleaning. And by about 3 o'clock, I'm like, well, the house is clean, but I've done work. But other people sabotage with they might break a leg, or you know, get ill, or something will happen, or you know, things happen. So that comes into play, and just really being aware of it. Okay, yes, I asked my ego a long time ago to really protect me from this fear, and you know, and just be aware of it coming up. And then
connect. So step 4 is connecting with yourself and others in a deep and authentic way.
And you know, that's really important too. And as I said, sometimes that used to come first in some of the work I was doing, which was great, but I still had the fears, and I still was reaching. So coming back to that connection allows you to have that presence in the moment. It really does, so that everything just falls together. And then the last thing is really integrating the new normals that you've brought back from this other reality. So you know, some of the times that you're working on something, it could take a while. Like my first one took about 8 weeks of doing all the practices and the tools in the book. But I can shift something now really fast, just you know, doing that. So it's repeatable.
Definitely, and also if you don't have the follow through after you come back, or you know, it's a lack of integration. Like whenever I would counsel anybody, I'd be like, I'd give them homework and say, do this repetitively for me, and then when you come back, you'll see that there's a huge, remarkably huge difference to the level of integration that you feel with what you've just learned. If you just learn something and then you don't do some practices to integrate, it can be like you're skimming the surface a bit, and it's not like you've really allowed all of you to really fully embrace the experience, and have it kind of repeat a bit on you and become like more normal. Like
absolutely. And even though you stepped into those shoes and it felt normal, and you could remember that that's who you were, it wasn't something you were trying to be or something you were learning to be. It's like, I remember how to be that. Then you bring it back. But you come into your environment that doesn't reflect that. You've got to do those practices. Otherwise, the self-sabotage, the fear, the old resentments, the old stuff that you haven't forgiven and let go will come back in and bring you out of that little bubble
Yeah.
and say, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
So it's really important to have that and integrate it. And as I said, sometimes if it's a long held belief, it may take a few weeks, but if it's something you're really ready to move forward from, it'll just be really fast. Yeah.
You know, one of the things I loved about reading a little bit about the either that second step where we can step into sort of anger for ourselves or blame for other people, because if we experience something so true to where we want to be in a parallel universe and we bring it back, those parts of ourselves that are angry that we ripped ourselves off for so long that we didn't give ourselves this can be really quite harsh and quite
loud.
Yeah, quite loud. Yes. And there could be the other thing, just red herring I'll throw in here, but that I've experienced before is that so when you have a player in another time that has stopped you and prevented you through oppression or murder or whatever what is that they've done to you to snuff out your light or to snuff out your life or whatever it is, that can carry on like a they might not have done it in this lifetime or this parallel universe, but it can be like a lingering etheric toxin.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I see this in my clients all the time, and I see scars on their body that aren't there, and I see chains, and I see restraints, and I see stuff, and it's like, I know what's clearing, I know why you're sore there, and it's ready to come to the surface and leave. But we hold on to all of that stuff in ourselves for a long time. It's all just there, and I think now, and you will probably agree as well, that a lot of things are clearing a lot faster now. It's all coming up to free us from all of that stuff.
And I think it's an extraordinarily powerful process that you've put together or channeled through, because when people can actually see the outcome, because usually we're taking people through a process, they have to walk through that darkness before they can actually see the point
They're
or the light.
Here. They're still here looking over there.
Whereas what you're saying is, okay, well, but this is achievable here. Okay, this may be happening leading up to that, and you can feel that coming back here. But hey, and understandably, you got to deal with all that grief or what have you, like in the forgiveness and acceptance process. But at the same time, it's giving people that hope, and a lot of people kind of find it a little bit difficult to bring that hope back into play sometimes when they're going through a bit of a dark night of the soul.
Oh, absolutely, because they've also got those voices from many lifetimes or from this one. You can't do it. Who are you to be that? You don't deserve that. You're not good enough. You're not, pretty enough or smart enough, whatever it is. So we've got those voices going on as well. So when we've got this vision of, you know what, I really want to do this in life, all of those voices rush in. But and then you start to believe that you can't do it. When you can actually step into those shoes and see and feel and experience yourself doing it, it's like, maybe I can. It allows you to question those voices that have held you back. And even if you have the awareness of just questioning them, that takes you so far forward.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely feel that. And when it comes to that third step, the other thing I liked when you were talking about the allowing yourself to self-actualize and versus the self-sabotage. I loved that you were talking about that if you're I guess people don't realize this happens, but when there's like this deep feeling of like I'm not worthy, I really don't deserve like this, sometimes that comes up before people can even get to see what they want. I get that. But by taking them through to that process where they're living it, they feel it, there's the self-sabotage can come up because, it can be a number of things. And it can even be that they naturally get sick because they're shedding stuff that could be causing cancer or something, and they're just getting rid of it because their vibrations turned up. But I really love that you were talking about these these ways that people don't even realize that they're like, getting in their own way when it comes to like allowing this to really happen for them. Procrastinating, putting things off. There's so many things, isn't it? Because your vibration creates it, because you're like, it's a dissonance. There's something, yes, no.
And you have to be really aware of some of them, because they're repeating. That's how you are aware of it. Because
that's right.
Like, no, that always happens to me. That always happens. It's just my life. No, it's not. It's a thing. And the patterns will come up. They'll keep coming up despite whether you do the process or not. But once you have stepped into that persona of who you're becoming, you become actually more aware of the pattern.
Correct. Yeah. And it's almost like when you become aware of stuff and name it, it does lose its power. So you kind of, it's almost comical. It's like, that's funny, and then because
that's what I do now when I start cleaning. I'm like, there I go again.
Exactly. That is a good example. I love that. I know that I have a cleaning habit too, but it's mine comes out when I'm actually a bit annoyed at something or someone, and I start to clean, and then my hubby will go, "What's happened?" No, I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Always telling.
I'm fine. That's funny. Yeah. So, the steps are really important, and each of the steps, I've got specific exercises that really help. Like in the first step, I've got, I get people to name the persona that they're stepping into. It's got to have a name. So mine was abundant Trish. I was moving from black Trish to abundant Trish, and that's who I tuned into.
Yeah.
If I'm working with someone and they want to move into valuable, whatever, or wealthy, and then their name, worthy, then their name, healthy, then their name, whatever it is. I like to name it, because then it allows you to totally zoom into, that's what it's like to be that part of me. Yeah. And then the exercises for the forgiveness. We've all done the forgiveness exercises, but I think when they'll come up with this one, because here's the thing, the new persona that you step into in these other realities doesn't have the heavy weight of emotional baggage.
Correct.
That your persona here is carrying. It doesn't have it.
Yep.
So the things that you're holding on to, once again, become very obvious around that area. It doesn't mean you clear everything out, but around that area that you're working on.
Yes.
It becomes very obvious. And you'll be thinking, okay, I forgive so-and-so for doing that to me, or I forgive so-and-so and the situation that happened 5 years ago, and I set myself free. And it just allows you to clear this stuff. So there's some exercises around that.
Yeah, because at that point, you're probably thinking, oh, my God, there's no use hanging on to this, because this is just going to get in my way.
It's not real anymore, because you're not that persona. It's just not real. It's like, I'll just release that. I don't need that anymore.
That makes a lot of sense.
So that comes up really easily. And then, of course, the, self-sabotage, self-actualization versus the self-sabotage then becomes very obvious as well.
Definitely.
It's not hard. It's like, okay.
Well, that's not that.
That's standing out like a sore thumb. Okay. Let's move forward from that. So there's exercises with that too. And I think most of the tools and exercises in the book are really for the awareness. So for you to really just go, that's what I do. I never thought about that before. Yeah, I do that. And once you're aware of it, you can just let it go. It, as you say, awareness eases everything. It just really does.
And if there is a part, like an aspect of ourselves that, is really in the way of that other aspect that we want to embody, then there's an opportunity to explore that part and to really kind of hold the hand a little bit and kind of work with them to get on board, because you know, if they're so scared and we haven't kind of, and they're not at peace, then there's an opportunity to help them come around and get on the team, you know, to be on board.
Absolutely. And that's the other great thing about stepping into the shoes of who you want to be, because you're feeling safe. And so then you feel a bit safer to explore that area of fear or emotional blocks that been holding on to, that you haven't had the courage to look at or any of that. So so some big things can come up and be released, and you know, it may take other tools and practices as well. Like mine's not the only one. Like, you know, I use a lot of things stuff as well. There's always something that right, that feels right now. Like, you know, sound healing I love, EFT, which I'm now doing. I just love music. I love Reiki. I love massage. All of those things that release energy. It's just fantastic to explore all of those. But
and different people are drawn to different things in that whole like process, in that space, to reinforce the learnings and to unlock and to help resource them through it. So and it's great. It's awesome that you're like that, Trish. I'm like that too. I have a like no holds barred, like, you know, one of my other principles is open-mindedness. So I'm like, no, keep like everybody's a unique being, and every parallel universe is going to be a uniqueness to it. And so if we keep an open mind around anything that can support that process, I'm sure that those things will present themselves to us as well, because we're wanting, if we're willing and we want that help to really integrate, then we'll draw those things to us.
Absolutely. And people have different needs, you know, as far as community or support or whatever else. And everybody is an individual, and you just need to meet people where they are, because it's not really, you know, up to us to say what people need. So, you know, it's good. And then in the connection step, I do actually talk about chakras, because chakras are so important, not only to have balance energetically, but if your chakras are out of balance, you'll see that area that relates to out of balance in your own life. And you know, I know when I was really going through financial struggle, like I was not grounded at all. Like, and as soon as I started getting that root chakra and sacral chakra into balance, you know, I was more inclined to take the action to do things, feel grounded in my decisions and all that. So now when I'm working with people, I can do it either way. I can either scan their body and see what's out of balance, or I can just ask them what's happening in their life, and I'll know what's out of balance with their chakras. So in that chapter, I've actually got all a meditation for each of the chakras.
Oh, fabulous.
And little 5 or 6 minute meditation, which is fantastic, just to tune up the chakras. And then I've also got the recordings on a free resource page for when you buy the book. So,
you lucky duckies.
So I think it's really important. But I talk a lot about different connections and meditations and different practices connect in that chapter. But we do go over the chakras as well, and just meditating. I think it's
that's awesome.
Important.
I think so too, because my opinion on chakras is it's like they're portals of energy with their own unique personality and resource that we can tap into. And it's like there's a yin aspect to them, then there's a yang aspect to them. And if something's out of balance with any of that, then that's gonna, if we can address it like you're saying, it's going to propel people to be able to embody, like in more of a whole way, this new aspect that they've tapped into. Otherwise, it's almost like I'm kind of here, but I'm not here. And so it is a bit of a forensic look into, and I like that it's on step 4, because you're really giving people an opportunity to have a look at these other things. But then if there's something awry hiding somewhere, it's going to definitely be here, people. So it's fantastic that you've got that, and it is really that ownership thing, isn't it? At that point, it's big time ownership, because it's literally your body.
100% responsibility. It's like, right, this thing that I'm releasing, where is it in my body? Where can I feel it? Let's really get connected. And, release things a little bit that way. But it is also just that finding that, not escape from being a human, but that internal journey that's so important, because this is one of the other things that creates a lot of chaos in people's lives, that they just want to not be involved in the human experience. They want to be on that hill meditating, or
I know. I have a little problem with that myself, like not doing that, but I have a little problem with that in looking at spirituality and thinking people think of that's what it's about, and it's for me it's not. It's the everyday stuff.
It is. It's being the human that is the expansion. And so there's a lot of people who want to escape into the spiritual tools and whatever else, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but to do it all the time because you don't like the human experience, that is not peace. Because you're always trying to run away from it. So to really have that connection and that that peace in the moment, that acceptance of, you know what, I'm here to expand. I need all of the experiences in this humanity to expand. I'm so grateful for being here in this human. I'm also grateful for being able to tune into my bigger part of myself, my spirituality. So the connection really does bring that peace. I can kind of sit here. I can probably sit in a room full of chaos as well and still feel peace, because I'm not getting in. I don't really get involved in it. Like, it's more like I just see things now like a fly on the wall kind of thing, if you know what I mean. And you can take that step back. Doesn't mean I'm, not interested or take part in things, but I don't buy into the chaos now.
And I think that the chaos is there for whatever reason, for that part of someone's story, and if we judge that chaos, it's almost like we're judging what they need to go through in order to evolve.
Absolutely.
So it kind of makes no sense to judge chaos, and that's why
and you don't need to get involved in it either.
No. And there's been times in my life that there's been absolute trauma and chaos, and to look at it from this angle, I'm thinking, oh my God, like that was absolute horrific. That was horrific. But when I know all the lessons that came out of it, and all the catalysts for change for me and all that, I don't judge it. So at the time, it's easy for us to just jump right in and go, well, that's chaos and that's judgment. We should be angry about that, and we should be. And the reality is, no. I mean, I watch the news sometimes because I challenge myself to be at peace with certain things. And that's part. Do you do that too? Like, it's a part of my spiritual development to actually watch horrendous things and still maintain equilibrium and understanding that there is a bigger picture at play, and I'm not God, and I shouldn't put my judgment on whether things are right or wrong, good or bad. So there is
a bigger picture at play. And I mean, watching those things, it just gives you an opportunity really to send out love. And I know
absolutely
that kind of sounds, a bit woo-woo for a lot of people, but just to sit there and send that, we know that there's no barriers to energy, it gets to them. So but we are here to remember that we are love. So all of those opportunities give us the chance to be that, and whether it's in our daily life or whether it's through what we see on the news. But when you're in chaos,
I know.
You don't
it's
see
shit.
It like that, right?
It's okay. We get it. Anybody listening who's in chaos right now, we get it. It feels shit.
Don't worry. I get in that fetal position in the corner, still. But I don't stay there for long anymore.
No,
so.
that's it, isn't it? It doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It just means we don't stay there as long. And
it does happen, and you can really appreciate it then after it happens. Because look, you're right. When you're in it, it's like, I can't appreciate this right now. But when you can step out of it, it's like, okay, I understand now that devastation had to happen to open up a beautiful portal for what I want. And,
exactly.
You know, so to be in peace while all that's taking place is something that you definitely need tools. You definitely need practices.
You do,
and
but like you do step into it quicker. Like I remember one time when I was over in Europe and we were traveling from Spain by car to France, and we stopped off to see Salvador Dali, where he used to live, and his home, and all his like beautiful artifacts and all these things that he'd done. And we just innocently like had all our luggage in the car and my iPads in the car, all our money, everything, our passports stolen, everything. We came back, everything, the car smashed, the whole thing's taken, everything's taken, like from our car and passports and everything. And it was just like at that moment, horrifying, like that's chaos, you've got your husband, your mother, who all her medication was taken, and my two daughters. And so, like those horrific things happen to you. But can I just say, and then we're at a police station trying to lodge a report, which we had to do in order to get passports. Yeah. And the policeman didn't speak English. So there was that component. So there were all these layers of it, right? But I just said to my hubby, I said, this is happening for a reason. I know there's a bigger reason at play here. And I am going to choose to be kind, be calm, be patient, and to give love to this policeman in the room as we were doing. Oh my God, I just felt the whole room change. Everything was beautiful. And it was so easy. I don't know. I just don't even know how that happened. And then so many things after that happened. So many good things. We stayed in a hotel that we would never have stayed in Spain on the waterfront. I don't even know how it happened, called the Hotel Universe. Like it felt, I know.
Of course.
We had no money, I think, except for $20 or 20 euros. And we managed to get dinner for all of us for 20 euros. I don't even know how we did that. So just things like that happened, it was
amazing, isn't it? And because the hardest thing about all of that was you changing your mind.
That was the hardest part, because everyone was freaking out. And I was like, my mum was literally on the phone to her pharmacy in Sydney to get her medication that she needed for her diabetes. It was a really heightened situation. So but because
that's the hardest thing, and you took the action. It's like, you know what, this is really hard for me right now because I'm just as worked up as everyone else, but I'm going to choose this, and then everything flows. And that's really hard to do if you're not. It's really hard to do if you haven't been practicing that.
That's right. And I mean, by that time I had been practicing quite a while to be able to do that, to engage that. But it's that's why, we can step out of chaos even when it does happen on that larger scale. And I feel like we're worth it to practice these tools now, even before the chaos hits, or you might be feeling like you are in chaos right now, whoever's listening, and you need some hand holding to get out of that, and that's fine. But just know that there comes a point where you can do that, and you can do that quite quickly and calmly, and you can maintain. It's almost like you're not trying to. It's almost like you do take control of the situation energetically. And and everybody else changes around you because you do that. It's kind of a funny, not trying to be in control, but for some reason my energy is controlling the situation even to calm down.
It's such a powerful example. It really is. And it is hard, though, when you're in chaos. So if there are people listening that are feeling like there's no way out of what's going on, just take a few minutes for yourself to try and imagine where you want to be. Because that's the other thing, too, when we are in those moments, all we can imagine is the worst. And all we can imagine is the bad scenarios. And this has happened. And whatever we're imagining is also true, whether it's bad or right, or what you love or what you don't love. It's like whatever you're asking for, whether it's what you want or what you don't want, you're getting it. So it's important to really just take that moment and say, okay, what am I thinking of right now? Or, what do I want this situation to feel like? And just step out of it even briefly, step out of the, oh, this is
Yes.
happening and I don't like it. Oh, what can I do now to be calmer about it, just like you did?
Yeah.
Because then all the answers come.
Yeah,
And
it's funny, isn't it? Things
they
came
just-
out of that, lots and lots of more things came out of that. But
they
yeah,
really
you don't kind of see those unless you kind of willing to see that you might not even know now what it is, but you just trust that there
Oh,
is a bigger picture. And if you
yeah.
can even hold on to that, like that hope thing that we were talking about before, it's okay.
Absolutely.
Like there is a bigger picture,
Awesome.
there
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Tomorrow's always a better day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I loved what you said in your little thing at the end where you said people always saying you need to see it to believe it, but you quoted Wayne Dwyer and he, you must believe it to see it.
Absolutely.
And I do believe that what we just talked about just then, it feels the same kind of thing, because I believe there was this bigger picture, even though I couldn't see it. But then because I believed, then I started to see all the real interesting things that were actually gifts out of that situation.
And in that calmness, you make better decisions because you weren't in fear.
Yes.
When we're in fear, you can't make decisions in fear. Well, you can make decisions in fear, but they're not going to be to the result that you want.
And they, like, our brain, like parts of our brain shuts down.
Yeah. It's good. So that calming before you make any decisions is good. So that's a great example.
Yeah.
And then in step 5, then what we do is actually start making the changes in the environment around us, and all of those attributes that we stepped into the shoes of. I love that analogy, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Because I am a person who's really actually quite fussy with shoes. Like, they have to feel good. Just ask my husband. I cannot wear shoes unless they feel comfortable. So, like,
like, that's a fantastic thing. And a lot of people won't change their identities or parts of their personality because they don't know how it's going to feel, and they're scared that it won't feel good.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful analogy. Thank you. But when you come back, then it's not come back, but when you go through all of this and you've become that personality, that part of your personality, that bit of the persona, what does that persona do? How does that persona dress? How does that persona work each day? The decisions, things change. It's like, some people go through this and then they kind of look at their workspace and they go, oh, this isn't me. And
oh, wow. That's interesting. That's really interesting. It's almost like they noticed what they never noticed before that wasn't quite in alignment with everything.
Well, it was in alignment with the lack, or the alignment with the unworthiness, or alignment with the insignificance, was in alignment with the persona that they were playing out.
Yeah.
But then when you're not playing that out anymore, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Things need to change around here a little bit, but don't be scared of that either, because it's not a big kind of, okay, I'm just going to crash the joint and replace everything. No, it's little by little things change, because if you're only working on one part of yourself at a time, they're just little incremental changes. It's nothing drastic that's going to create a lot of fear. And that's what I also love about the process. You could just, it's not like they're big changes, but it doesn't feel like you're tackling too much that you can't handle.
But the other thing, Trish, is if people are reclaiming a part of themselves that are more aligned with abundance and more true to their nature, those parts start to kind of come together more and more and more and build into feeling like that soul retrieval, like that whole person, that stronger person. So every process they walk through is going to contribute to them feeling like a more stabilized version of themselves and a more peaceful version.
Oh, it does. And then the next thing emerges, like, oh, okay, that's the next thing, or that's the next thing. So let's say somebody's working on, they're not happy with their relationship, or they're sick of attracting the same ones all the time, or, whatever it is. Like, there's no point working on the skirts of things here. You've got to work on the cause of things.
Yeah.
You can't work on the effect, because the cause is still there and it's still creating the effect.
Yeah.
So, people reading the book and going through the process, I've really gone into depth of, how do you find that? But when I'm working with people, I intuitively just I can see the problem behind the problem. And so we really get to that. Oh, there it is. There's the cause. And then once that's kind of dissipated, then the next natural thing comes up, and then the next. And sometimes you don't even know what they are until the first thing's gone.
It's almost like they needed permission to surface. Like, now I feel it's my turn. I feel safe. Okay, we dealt with the big one. Now, okay, I've been waiting patiently. Let's look at me. I love that.
Absolutely. And so, like with me, with my money story, I mean, me becoming the persona that is good with money and respects it and treats it well, and all of that. There's no point. That's an effect. Yeah. There's no point doing that until I got rid of the scarcity.
Yes.
Feed.
You got that. Yep.
Yeah. So, and that's the same in relationships. There's something there that's not worthy, not deserving, insignificant, unlovable, right? Let's have a look at that seed and change that, and go to that life where you do feel loved, where you do feel lovable, where you do feel deserving, where you're living a life of worthiness. Let's go there. How do you feel there? And bring that back and remember it, because it is who you are.
Oh, I feel really teary.
Who you are. Yeah.
Ooh, that's so beautiful. Yeah. My heart was just expanding the more you were saying that. I was like, wow, that's so beautiful. What a beautiful gift. Yeah. That's so lovely.
Yeah. So I think it's a super simple thing. I'm a simple gal. I like things to be simple. I'm not overcomplicated. I don't like to overcomplicate anything. But it's really simple. Everyone can follow it, and it's beautiful. And it truly does shift things. It really does. And sometimes you don't see it straight away, but a week later or a month later, you wake up and you go, oh. Things feel different.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. I love that it has its way of catching up with you, and to the point where it's adding peace to your life the whole time, but it gets to that point where you go, wow, okay, wow, things are really different. That's really cool.
It really is.
In a nice, gentle way. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course it's called the peace process because that's the first, it's the first letter of all of those steps. But shifting out of that part of you that is not feeling peaceful and moving into a more peaceful version of that, that is peace. And you can, you probably, because you've done a lot of work as well, like you can go for a little while without too much chaos kind of coming up.
Oh yeah.
And you'll come to a situation where it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's something.
Need all my tools now. Thanks very much.
Or something else.
Yeah.
And then you can just go, oh, okay, why is that causing chaos in my mind, my body, my energy? How can I find peace there? What's the next step? What can I do to find that peace there? Because it just, first of all, feels so good. But as we said in the beginning, having that calm and that centeredness, it really helps everything. It helps your decisions, it helps your health, and it helps your manifesting. It just helps people around you. Yeah. People underestimate the power of calm and peace. And I remember there was a client I had who's a really lovely friend of mine now. The first time she came to me for a reading, really all I did some readings, but all I did really was create a calm little space for her because she was so manic. Yeah. That she wouldn't have absorbed anything anyway. Yeah. So to create that beautiful calmness, that's all she needed at that time. And people underestimate the power of it, but when you can really bring that to somebody in whatever practices that you do, it makes a massive difference.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, this has been positively peaceful. Just saying, pardon the pun. I feel so juiced up by it. Thank you so much. I really do. It's so yummy. It's like I love it. I love peace so much, and it's so cool to be able to talk with someone about it who gets it. So I really bless you, my peace sister.
And thank you. And my book
yes, please
will be released. It'll be released soon. So I'll come back on at some stage and we'll talk, and I'll have it here to hold up. But it'll be released soon, and pre-sales are available for people if they want to do that. And they can read all about it.
And where can they find you? It's can you do your website? I forgot to write it down in front of me.
Oh yeah, so my website's trishrock.com.
Oh, easy. Yeah. And can I just say, everybody, Trish Rock is TRISHROCK.com, so that you know that the spelling, if anybody needs the spelling, because I know sometimes it's hard. And they can find you on Facebook as well. You've got you've been writing in a holistic bliss. They can see you there as well. And I noticed on your website you have a podcast as well. Inspired by Trish. Is it Inspired by Trish or Inspiration by Trish? I should have written that down.
Trish Rock Inspires.
Oh, Trish Rock Inspired. So if you want to hear more of Trish and her beautiful ways, you can also pop on and listen to some of her own podcasts that she's popped in.
Absolutely. And I've done interviews with nearly 100 beautiful people like yourself that are really interesting too. So they're all on that podcast as well.
Fabulous. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to the book, and please stay tuned, everybody, to grab a copy for yourself. And if you want the pre-sales, you can also go to trishrock.com to grab yours. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, Trish. Bye.
Bye.